What up, everybody? It's Lonnie here. Charts and Labs for the weekend. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. I want to start off by making sure everybody knows that this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial guru or certified in anything. Um, I'm just sharing my opinion, my experiences, and things that I see to help you have the familiarity to make your own decisions with your own money and build some wealth, hopefully. So let's jump into what we're going to look at today. This is a indicator that I'm trying to build myself here on TradingView. A lot of the trades that I like to make are momentum based. I like following momentum. I'm not trying to be greedy and taking the whole move. Like I don't care to hit this spot and sell at this spot. I would rather capture this move and then be out. Um, so I'm getting it geared kind of towards that for like the day trade and kind of a scalping strategy. The yellow line is representing a volume weighted trailing uh, average, and it is also got some pivot points on it to kind of see like when it crosses that momentum and when things go from momentum to bullish. So this is a good way to kind of back test. It's going to be hard to capture that live, but I can use momentum on my side, and then in the shorter time frame we can see a lot of these will be much more erratic. But what would be cool is when I get if I was able to get this green buy, follow this momentum up, I see the stall, and then this is where I either decide on my profit taking um, or I would look to exit or I could maybe add to the position if I see something or hear something in the news and other indicators. This one never came down very far, so I probably would have either added or held, and then it caught momentum again and went up. Um, this would have for sure been a selling point crossing below, but I probably would have looked to sell at this if I was using this indicator on a back test kind of thing, where a price came up and tested my yellow line. I probably would have got out before and not waiting for it to cross. So just kind of messing with that. We'll see how it goes next week, getting to utilize this. Um, and see if I have to make any adjustments. If it ends up being a good one, a good one, and is I'm having some success with it, and anybody is wanting to, I'll definitely send you the source codes to be able and show you how to get that yourself on TradingView to look at and mess with. But for the weekend, let's go in and check out what happened on Friday. So I gave it the charts of some of the Mag 7 and Intel because we saw kind of a crazy move happen at the very end of the day, which was OPEX driven. And I just wanted to kind of have ChatGPT go through the charts and kind of verify that was what we're likely seeing. Um, and OPEX is the expiration of options. So there's always going to be expirations on the monthly dates. Every third Friday of the month is um, is going to be option expiration, and then you also got quarterly ones that have higher interest on them. So like March and June and September and December will always have higher interest and options, both on the call and put side, because a lot of them are bought far out. People swing trade those a lot to play those running positions. So, uh, saying that this was very OPEX driven, the huge volume spike, especially in Nvidia, dealers forced to rebalance their delta and gamma exposure. I did not make a video yet on the Greeks. There are plenty of great videos already on YouTube from other people, describing how the Greeks affect options and such. Um, and so I suggest watching those before you jump in and start playing with options. Learning the Greeks beginners, I believe, is a good search, and there's 3 or 4 videos on there that are good ones to watch. But this was a mechanical move, not emotional selling. Um, so the monthly OPEX expired, which was a lot of 0-day and weekly options. rolled off. Dealers who sold options must flatten their hedges. This causes forced buying or selling of the stock right before close. It was pretty extreme and exaggerated. It wasn't, I don't know the last time I saw it quite as extreme as we did on this one, but that was probably because the last, since the end of October, well, I guess most of the beginning of October, we were actually seeing very bullish indications and kind of the euphoric moment. And then the tail end of October into November, we really spun out and got kind of in a negative sentiment, very bearish, as like the Japan yen carry trade kind of unwound. And then we saw the Fed getting kind of uncertain, where some members were being a lot more hawkish and some were being a lot more dovish. They were talking about what the government shutdown set them back so far, so they're not going to be able to act accordingly with financial policies and such. And that was creating a lot of uncertainty that scared risk assets or speculative assets, especially the tech stocks and crypto. Crypto got beat up the last quarter of this year. But this video, we're going to focus on the tech side, the tech stocks. We got NVIDIA. Intel's one that I really like and I'm following specifically. I still have a call option swung that I'm holding with zero risk on it because I already sold my other 2 contracts for it for break even. There are some rumors starting to buzz up that there is a deal with Intel and OpenAI that are getting some strength and some validity behind them. Still rumors and speculation. There has been a lot of rumors and speculation. If you are like me and you've been following Intel for this year, pretty much the entire year has been nothing but rumors of whether it be a partnership or a joint venture with Taiwan Semiconductor, a spinoff with NVIDIA and AMD, an AI sovereign group coming in and purchasing the foundry or using the foundry. Large customer foundry list of Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Tesla. All these guys are all rumored to come to Intel. So rumors are kind of a thing of the norm with Intel, and that's why they don't move the needle as much as they do with other stocks. Like when you get a very positive rumor with some of these stocks like AMD or Tesla or anybody, they really run quickly because they typically get confirmed right after, and then the stock and everything goes and it kind of continues. With Intel, so many of these rumors are sitting and haven't been confirmed, and I think a lot of them are not confirmed or haven't been able to be moved on because of the FTC having to approve the NVIDIA stake, where NVIDIA took a $5-point-something billion stake in Intel, and they had to approve that to make sure that it wasn't any type of colluding or anti monopoly act where they just have to have their fingers in it, make sure that nothing's going on. So Intel had heavy put action, and that's why the price dropped very suddenly. Price slipped below these strikes. Dealers sold stock to unwind their put hedges. Does not mean Intel sentiment flipped bearish. It just means that puts expired and hedges had to come off. The Keytel volume spike, but no follow through in the after hours. Microsoft spiked late, quite the opposite. They had heavy call exposure. Dealers bought shares into the close to neutralize, similar to the NVIDIA, smaller magnitude. Meta had a hard flush, overcrowded call positioning. Price slipped below key strike. Gamma flipped negative. Dealers sold stock rapidly to close those calls. This is why Meta looked uglier than the others. Amazon was a control drop. Amazon options were more balanced, smaller open interest in clusters, less violent move. The big confirmation, volume without news. You nailed it. Even NVIDIA had a huge increase in volume compared to the rest of the day, all in the last 5 minutes. What that tells on no earnings, no macro, no breaking, only structural flows of options and institutional hedging and such. So OPEX is now behind us. No more forced dealer flows. Price action next week reflects the real buyers and sellers' institutional positioning for the next month and the year ahead. This is often why you see a Santa Claus rally, is where, October through kind of into December, you see, the tax loss harvest season is kind of what they call it, where positions are sold or profit is taken, and then they kind of position on what they want to take their loss on. And then the positioning for the year coming up next year kind of begins middle to end of December, and then we call it the Santa Claus rally because everything starts getting bought back up after all of the losses were, um, taken for tax purposes. NVIDIA has the cleanest signal, absorbed massive volume, closed strong, no rejection. Historically, this setup often leads to continuation higher in the following week. Intel's drop is likely a reset, not a breakdown. Intel drop occurred only during the hedge unwind. Key support still intact. Options pressure relieved. This actually improves the setup for upside if a catalyst appears, like OpenAI. Huge chip order for them would be massive. The AI Sovereign Group with the U.S. Defense deals and government orders, within, I think that's got AMD, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and I think Apple's involved too. But there could be a big group making a big push and making sure that Intel gets their seat at the table, which is pretty likely in my eyes because they have their 10% or 9.8 or whatever percent stake from the government, and they've always been in possession of a lot of government contracts throughout the year. It's their biggest customer, so to see this AI Sovereign Group, they're likely going to be a big participant, would be my guess. Volatility fakes out people. Monday through Wednesday often see the reversion or continuation. Wow, that's great guess. Some straight talk. Dealer hedging. Okay, cool. So that's kind of what happened on Friday on that chart. Kind of what I suspected and what we see typically on quarterly OPEX dates. So what's kind of the headline and news coming in from over the weekend into next week? We have the applied materials week ahead, AI equipment demand signals, China's export curb crosswinds, AMD stock week ahead, China. So there is some serious news coming out of China. U.S. data, a holiday shortened week. This is one of the ones that makes the material for the chips. There's only a couple of these companies as well. It's kind of crazy how there's only 3 foundries. There's only 4 or 5 companies who make the material for the chips and the nodes and all this stuff. I think there's only a handful of silicon producing companies as well. It's really crazy how these groups are very small. And I think a lot of it is from probably merger and acquisition, but I haven't dived too deep down that hole yet. But the AI and memory stocks, Micron reported strong earnings. This is still old news, but that's giving a lot of good sentiment right now, especially considering Oracle and Broadcom were very negative. So it's a good thing on the memory side that there is still that demand and it's growing, which is making everybody a lot more confident that despite Oracle and Broadcom struggling a little bit, the fact that their struggles came from supply constraints means that there's still continuing demand and growth. Oh, look at this. Santa Claus rally is emerging. Some market commentators are discussing a year-end rally in typical season patterns, strong AI adoption trends, though they caution that liquidity will be thin. We're waiting on the Fed still. The Fed is still a driving factor in what's going on. With the quantitative easing, quantitative tightening, what are interest rates? That's kind of the first snowball to take effect. EU's still doing some crazy stuff with big tech. They're trying to get their strong hand in there and mess with some things and stir the pot. So we got to watch the EU. I think their most of their rift is with Tesla because they don't like Elon. So we got upbeat ahead, short week of trading limb. Research is trending higher. Analysts are lifting the targets. Chips in remain strong. AMD faces China and policy noise. China's trying to do their Huawei stuff and act like they don't need any of the American designers or any of the American chip makers. So that would be pretty impactful to AMD and NVIDIA. Anything rumors? Taiwan Semiconductor is getting institutional attention, buying activity, and reaffirmed analysts saying that continued confidence and demand kind of got to start somewhere. So if Taiwan Semiconductor is getting bit, growth and attention to get more and increase, that means that they're likely seeing that AI with NVIDIA and all those guys are still continuing. The AI trade confidence versus the bubble fears. There's still vocal debates about the AI bubble. But recent earnings and policy narratives have tended to calm the short-term fears. So fears spike, create uncertainty, high volatility, and then as they get silenced, now we could see possibly some positivity coming in. And there's nothing more bullish than a failed bearish move, and there's nothing more bearish than a failed bullish move. So typically the first move right off the reversal is going to be very strong. So we'd be looking to capture some of that. There's memory shortage, supply chain reality confirms memory tightness. Memory shortage has a real supply consensus. Everybody's having a hard time. That's the crazy thing is that, they're questioning, is there enough demand? Is there enough demand? And yeah, there's enough demand because they can't even keep up with the supply. So what to watch with the market timing this week? Macro data, we're still watching for inflation and whatever the Fed governors are saying. It's kind of more of the what are they saying is more important than what they're doing. So they might just be meeting and they might be having these discussions trying to figure out what's best, but it's how they're saying it. And we're looking for hawkish and dovish sentiment to see what's going on there. China's always a big player. China's tech policy, there was a short-term ban on the chips going to them, and in that time all they did was they ramped up their own internal development, and that's why Huawei is now caught up. So kind of the fact that Nvidia and AMD were blocked from getting some of their chips into China kind of pushed China's development, and now they're saying that they don't want any of Nvidia's or AMD's chips. So that was kind of a little mistake maybe. Market mood, memory demand, AI capex, what's going on with spending. So very similar to last week is kind of what we got going on. So we're going to come in and see, this is NVIDIA. Let's go to Intel. Bounce over here to the 15-minute. These are my old lines. Let's just see if any of these numbers are going to line up on the new indicator. I'm going to try to wrap this up here pretty quickly because I don't want all of these videos to be 40 minutes long of me rambling at the end. Nothing in the news, so we're going to pop that down. We already kind of checked. So it looks like this down trend line that we kind of established after the rally to 44 that capped this uptrend resistant, tapped that, started a downtrend, which is this white one, broke out over it, which is a positive, came back, tested it, showed to be a true support. So I drew this horizontal white line because I would like to see it open above that, because this is where we spiked at the opening, and then of the day of that, what day was that? On the 18th at opening, and then on the 19th at opening, both days hit that spike. So this is very obvious a resistance point, because then we ran into it all day Friday and just hummed along around it until they dropped it below, but brought it back up, which covers this on the 15-minute, the EMA for the 90, perfect landing spot. So this is going to be, we had a little bit of a downturn. We'll see what like the pre-market kind of starts out as, but I'm kind of looking for the continuation, because I'm on the same page as them, as the narrative is shifting. If we go let's touch this one. Oh, if we skip that one and go to this one, what if we go to this one? I'm just kind of looking at the difference on these pivot points to get closer to where we closed at on this, but I also want to make sure that we have plenty of touches for validity. So this one seems to have touch, close on it even though it went below it, close on it even though it went below it, touch, touch, touch. So this is kind of the one that I would say is a confirmed trend line of support, and it got close to it and then went away from it really fast. So I don't want to see, I'd rather not see this point, but if we look at the 22nd by closing, kind of as a guesstimate of what this could be, there could be some action around the 36.70 at that zone. And then we really got to decide, are we going up or are we going down? But if we could open above the 3750, that would kind of look like a much more bullish trend, and it might come closer to where this one was starting and skip over to this one, and we'll use this as the resistance point. So watch this one. So if we do an extended, yeah, I want to do extended, not really extended. So watch, we'll use this huge wick low, wick high, very small body. We'll use that point, and then we're going to use this kind of top. We want to use the top. Let's use the top right before the drop. This must have been the most top. And we're going to make this one be a different color to show what I'm talking about. So this was starting to kind of build an upward trajectory with a little bit of resistance right here. And then tried to break, came below, and then when it went below, it caught all the way down to support, fired up through and hit the moving average, and then it came all the way back down here. So this is where it was really fighting to determine a trend. And as it was determining that trend, huge wick low, huge wick up, and touch that. So this was kind of, on the bodies of the candles, this lines up well. It has a couple touch points. It goes through the bottom there. This big candle goes through kind of the center, right through the heart, where it had a lot of uncertainty. But this one is what created the visual point that I can see. I can see this trend based off these double wicks. And then I come over and we try to bust through it. Kind of came here and found in support on the moving averages. And then it went up, and if we move this, yeah, the point that we touched was the highest point we hit right before close. So I'm going to use that point for next week going forward. So if we're looking at this guy now, if we could open up above 3750, there is a trend that we could follow above 38 pretty quickly. That's a pretty steep path point that it could follow, trend support. And then we also see that the moving averages are in an ascending pattern. They are going up, except for the short-term one, obviously, because of the drop at the end. But the longer-term one is building up and is going to hopefully be support. So let's bounce back to my indicator that I'm working on. And let's do this 45-minute kind of oddball candle, or oddball pattern. I don't always use this time frame, but it is kind of combining of that one to show some validity. And if we zoom in on what's going on, this is the week basically. So that was the 12th. Yeah, the 12th was Monday. Thursday, let's skip that one. Or no, 12th was Friday, I'm sorry. Monday, where was Monday? The 15th, right here. Let's get 45-minute. Right there, that big candle is what we're going to use as our start. Let's zoom in a little bit, and then we'll move it right there. All right, so we were tailing some downtrend momentum, but there was a lot of uncertainty in this. This means that it looked like it was trying to break back, which we saw here and here. So it wasn't really a full negative momentum, but we did hit that negative on Wednesday when it failed to break above that the volume average, the trailing volume average. Dropped below hard, which went big time momentum. That big candle created that. So if I was to be looking at trading off of this indicator during red momentum, bullish or bearish momentum, I'm sorry, I would not take that trade for I wouldn't go long. I would only be looking for short positions and waiting for the reversal. It's crazy. Went back to indecisive and then created a downtrend. So like even on this one, this was a strong candle and I attempted to break above. I still wouldn't look to break above. I might have taken this one on the 45-minute. It would show, but I would zoom in on a tighter candle. That would be too predictive. It would be a very risky play to jump in on that. And as we can see, it failed. But if I was getting into something like March dated something kind of long out as a swing play. That might have been where I started a position. Wouldn't I mean Thursday on a short week on an OPEX week? I definitely would not have taken anything for Friday. I would anything in a big position. It's very risky. And then we saw the reversal right after, and then we're still in this indecisive pattern because we immediately came back and then reversal again. So failing to break above that line's showing to be very, very resistant. So now hopefully it's going to be very, very supportive on this back end because that opening momentum was so strong. It pivoted immediately within an hour of opening from bearish sentiment to positive, and massive candle up, and held all those candles above. So even now that we've tailed off of this huge bullish momentum, we touched the average, popped right back up, looking for that continuation up. And so just to show you kind of what the tighter timeline would be on how we would have traded that Thursday is, yeah, it was real jumpy. What is it, Thursday at 2:30? Oh, yeah. Went positive, but very, yeah, that would be a very weird candle. Would not want to trade that. So as you can see, even though on the 45-minute candle we saw that there was possibly a trade in this, too much chop and then the big spike, would not have liked any of those positions. So that's why you always confirm, um, confirm with with multiple timelines. Look at the longer dated timelines, bigger timelines, and then also the tighter timelines. So although we saw big move and bullish, and then on Thursday, uh, two trailing bullish. Trailing bearish momentum. We saw two bearish reversals off the attempt to break over. I don't think I would have taken any short. I wouldn't have taken any long on this. I mean, that would have been the closest thing that I would have taken possibly, and that is around Thursday at 6:15. Let's zoom in about that time. It was about this time. And yeah, it started some. I mean, that's such a strong candle off that. Probably would have psyched me out. I would have probably went long here if I wanted to take a long position. And then I would have hoped to take the exit. So there was a profitable trade in here. It just probably was very small. So I really like this indicator, and I'm looking forward to trying it out this coming week. It is not the most ideal for crypto because on TradingView, when you go into their crypto side, you don't get to see the volume unless maybe if I go directly into one of these. Let's try what Coinbase's is. Then I do have the volume, so that would be helpful using it with the volume backing from that specific one. Even though this won't show all of Bitcoin's moves, it's specifically on Coinbase. It should be pretty accurate. Excuse me. So let's look at TXC, US, and the only Bitmart's the biggest one. So let's use the Bitmart one. For crypto, I'm going to use an hourly just because, and then TXC's just got such thin liquidity. It's crazy how small their liquidity is. I'll probably do a specific video on TXC right after this, but I just kind of wanted to peek real fast, and yeah, it's following the average, that's for sure. Cool. Well, be interesting to see next week on a full week of making these options trades and converting my profits into crypto. Hope you are enjoying the series. I'm going to try to start making some of these a little bit smaller. My goal is to try to get into the 10 to 20 minute range and less of the 25 to 35 minute range. So I apologize for the longer videos, but it's raining today and I don't feel like going out and playing in it, so I will probably pump out a couple of these. I'm going to probably try to see if I can't get a couple around a couple different tickers specifically and more focused. So hope everyone's having a great day. Hoping everybody, happy holidays, enjoying the seasons with your family, And Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. This week should be exciting. I feel I have good vibes about this week. So see you guys. Have a good night.